absolute luxury, from buying the $300-400 bundles to then paying another $200-300 on the sew-in. It can get so expensive.
To start, this is a 2x6 HD closure that I placed about a 1/2 inch in front of my hairline. Then I used this Velcro headband from Amazon to hold the closure in place while I sewed it down. The braiding pattern that I use is pretty simple. I just braided it all towards the center of my hair and then did like a crisscross motion. Okay, let's get into the install. So I'm using 3 20-inch bundles and 1 18-inch closure. And to actually do the sewing, you're gonna see I'm passing the needle underneath the braid and the track, and then I'm coming up and creating a loop with the thread and then running the needle back through the thread. I know that sounds like a mouthful, but you will see better what I'm doing here in the next clip. What I notice is it's really important that when you are securing that very first track down, you want to go over it several times. I'm pretty sure this very first area, I went over it like 4 times before I moved on, because that is like the beginning of all of it. You don't want to skimp this part, because then the entire install might not be great. Here you'll be able to see the technique a little bit better. You see there's a loop there in the thread, and I'm just pulling the needle back through that loop and then really securing it down to the braid. This is what I'm going to be doing along my entire head until it's done. The hardest part about this install is going to be the fact that a lot of times you can't see what you're doing, and so you get a lot of the actual hair caught into the thread, and that I think is probably the most difficult part with doing your own sew-in. I don't think the actual sew-in itself is hard, but trying not to get the hair knotted in with the needle and the thread is pretty difficult.
Just to connect.
Okay, here's where things become optional. So I chose not to cut my tracks. I did not want to cut them, so I'm trying to get them to lay as flat as possible, and this is the technique that I used. And for reference, I did double the track, so this is not a single track. I'm sewing with 2 tracks down instead of just 1. I took the first track and I laid it very flat down onto the braid, as you can see here, and I secure that down first. This is going to create a nice flat base so that you can reference and move off of for the next track. Once I felt like that was nice and flat, I'm going to go ahead and take the second track and then lay it right below that one, following the braiding pattern that I had showed you guys before. This is going to keep the tracks laying super flat, and I was actually so impressed by this because this was my first time doing this, and as you can see, it is actually quite flat there. Now that we have connected the 2 tracks again, we're going to go ahead and just follow the braiding pattern like we did, putting the needle underneath of the braid and the track, and then making a loop and securing it. And we're going to continue this all around. Back section where you can't see is definitely going to be your challenge, because as you can see, there's so much hair getting knotted and pulled into the thread. But to be honest, the finished result, I really couldn't tell a difference, so I don't really think this is that big of a deal to get a little bit of hair caught into the needle and the thread. Here's another look of what I'm doing to avoid cutting my tracks, and if this is not important to you, then you don't have to follow this, but you can see I'm once again splitting those 2 tracks apart, taking the first one, securing it down first, getting that nice and flat. And if you notice, the track is kind of parallel to the actual closure. Then you're going to sew it down onto the braid, and then you're going to take that second track and just meet that first track and just keep sewing it down. This is going to keep that area nice and flat, as you can see here. When I was getting to the end of a bundle, I double looped the thread because it was going to finish off, and I want to make sure that the ends are secure. The beginning and the ends really need to be secured. Of course, the entire thing needs to be secured, but I really put emphasis on the start and the finish.
I think I'm gonna get away with 2 bundles. Like, I have virtually no hair left. I thought That was 2 bundles and a closure working with right now. It does look like it's already pre-parted for the middle part, which is great because that is exactly what I was going to wear anyways. I feel like 3 bundles would have been like a lot. It is pretty difficult for me to see. This is it, you guys. Definitely kind of giving more of like a loose wave kind of vibe. What do you guys think? You guys think this is 20 inches or do you guys think this is longer than 20 inches? For reference, I'm about 5'6", so also cost me $0 and like an hour and a half out of my time. So guys, that's it. That's my install. I really feel like you guys can save some coins if you just try it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let me know if you guys like this kind of video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.